when you take down the barrier of it's the production company and it's the agency, when you take that down and it just becomes one team, that's where the good shit really happens right there, you know.
Welcome to Set Life, where we tell stories from our industry. I'm Kelly Leger, and this is Amber Buteau. Hey guys, welcome to Set Life. I'm Kelly Leger, and this is
Hosanna Arceri,
your host today. And we have a guest with us, Thomas Guerrero. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you guys for having me, man. I love the studio.
Yeah, thanks, man.
I love this. I was telling someone earlier, I would love to have this in my photography studio.
I know.
Light's so soft, man.
Yes,
makes everything look good, right?
I know, it does. No doubt. We love it. Fun place.
Yeah.
Hosanna has a lot of fun shooting here.
Dude, you can shoot so much stuff here. So I just have a blast from tactical films, commercials, you just all kinds of good stuff. Yeah.
Blast. Well, Thomas, we're all still getting to know you. I know our audiences, but give us kind of your history, what you do, who's Thomas?
Yeah, man. You know, I have kind of a crazy, not a crazy story, but it took me a while, my path to get going in the kind of the advertising creative industry. I went to art school.
Okay.
At SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design. I was there about 2 years, and it's expensive. It's pricey. Didn't finish, dropped out. Went back to the small town called LaGrange, Georgia, outside of Atlanta.
Okay.
And my buddy was like, we were just, we were doing nothing. We're just hanging out. I was doing some art here on the side, shooting a lot of pool, drinking some 40s, just nothing. He's like, we need to get out of this town, bro. So he's like, the Air Force has a buddy program. You can sign up with your buddy. You can hang out during your enlistment, have a good time, get your money for school, bada boom, bada bing. I was like, let's do it. Signed up. The recruiter was like, do you have art? Do you have like design and creative? I was like, yeah, we got it right here. Sign right here, right?
Yeah.
And so I signed up. Never saw my friend again. He went this direction. I went dirty, bro.
Wow.
And then I ended up loading bombs on F-16 fighter jets.
Whoa.
Didn't touch
it's creative.
So creative.
It was like, watch this. But I tell you what, man, it gave me that discipline I needed.
Yeah.
As an artist, I had that kind of passion for art, but I didn't have that discipline that you need. I grew up with a single mom, and so it was just me and her, my brother, and I just didn't have that kind of, that discipline that it takes. And the military will teach you some of that good stuff, right?
Yep.
It teaches you that teamwork.
Yeah.
It teaches you not to show up late, which is invaluable. It sounds like an easy thing, but
right.
You know how important it is. Never show up late on a set,
Yeah.
a meeting. And I think the teamwork thing really came through in the military.
No
right?
doubt.
And then I got out of the military and I had some making up to do because I'd been here for 5 years. My dad lives in League City. Moved back here, finished up school, and got an internship right away. I mean, like legit, straight out of school. Even before I was graduated, I got an internship, and it's pretty valuable. It's invaluable to have an internship.
Yeah.
I mean, people like, I'm telling everyone, you've got to get internship, some type. You've got to get working in the industry before you get in the industry.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
And I got an internship at a company called Etc., which is one of the largest design firms here in Houston. Their big clients, HP. I mean, that's kind of their that's kind of their big deal there. I've had them for years, over 20 years.
Wow. And
just worked my way up to ACD over a 9-year span. I just put my head down and just cranked it out. A lot of B2B, a little bit of B2C work. But at that time, it was just mostly, campaign, print kind of stuff. Digital wasn't really happening then. And then I left after 9 years, went to a company called Origin, started by Jim Mausner, who kind of a visionary in the graphic side. And so I still in print, kind of doing that thing, but I just had bigger plans than other just being a graphic designer. I wanted to shoot photography. There's nothing cooler than film and video and motion and seeing that emotion happen, right? And I was just trying to figure out a path to get there. And then I got recruited to be the creative director for Luby's, which everyone was like, Luby's?
Let's go.
It's like, what the hell?
That was my dinner every night.
That's not sexy. Doesn't it fit your vibe?
Lou and Platter, bro.
But you know what? It gave me the title, straight up creative director.
Yeah.
And it gave me, it just took me to a little bit different level.
Yeah.
And it's all about, the brand is all about what you make of it.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
And so as soon as I got there, like 6 months, they bought Fuddruckers. Now, Fuddruckers is a cool ass brand.
Oh yeah.
Right. Those burgers, and they're national and they're international.
Yeah.
And so obviously at that time, the Richards Group was their agency, and they're like, hey, we really like what you're doing. We'd love for you to build a team and bring it all in-house.
Sweet.
And I was like, let's do it. I haven't done it before, but we can get it done. Brought in some art directors, some writers, motion graphics people, and just started building that Fuddruckers brand along with the Lubies.
That's awesome, man.
And I was there for 4.5 years. And I remember at the Addy Awards, which is the advertising awards here in town, I mean, we killed. You know, as the young people say, we slayed it. like no cap, bro.
Yeah,
seriously,
no cap.
we slayed that shit. And Brenda Love, and I don't know if you guys ever met Brenda Love.
Yeah.
She's a powerhouse.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a lot of respect for Brenda. She came up to me. She's like, "What's it going to take for you to come to Love?" And I was like, "It's going to take some money,
some love."
yeah. And so we worked that for a couple months, and then finally I was able to make my way over to Love.
Wow.
And I was there 4 years, and that's where I was telling you earlier, that's where I really went from just being a one-dimensional creative to a multi-dimensional creative. You know, not just looking at how it looks on, you know, the commercial looks and how the design looks, but, you know, the research behind it, the strategy behind it, you know, what's going to make this campaign successful, and really wrapping my hands around that.
Yep.
And that's where I really started to take shape of who I wanted to be in the industry. Budgets, small budgets. And like I was telling you, you know, bringing in a director sometimes would really hurt. And for some reason at that time, everyone wanted to bring in a director from LA, from Austin.
Yeah, it becomes
and that's just money. And it's like, it's not worth it. And I was like, you know, let me give it a try. Let me get a great GP in. I mean,
it's the way to do it.
We are, you know, we're building the concepts. We know the creative.
Right.
Let me get a great team in behind me, and let's just start to build this journey as being a director. And even now I hesitate to call myself a director, but you know, James Cameron said, you know, to be a director, all you gotta do is pick up a camera and tell people what to do, and now you're a director. Right? And I mean, that's simplifying it, but still, you've got to get started somewhere.
Yeah.
And I started doing spots for Honda and the Houston Auto Show, and just getting there and getting my hands dirty.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then from there, I just commercial concept development. Left that, went to another agency, and then now with the agency I'm at now, which is Hierarchy Advertising here in Houston. We're a small agency, man, but we got a lot of creative power behind us.
That's cool.
And the last 2 to 3 Addies, it's 15 golds, best of shows, just rocking and rolling.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so that's kind of my journey. Now, obviously, there's a lot of ups and downs within that journey, right?
Yeah.
And so it's never as cool, as easy as it sounds. But I'm kind of in a good space right now. You know, I do a lot of fashion photography on the side. I was just talking about this softbox up here. I've got one in my studio by my house. I live in the Heights, and I have my photography studios next to me. Our office is over in the Silver Street area, but I work from home a lot, and then I shoot photography. And like I built a kind of a makeshift this, and the light gets so soft, man. It's so pretty.
It's fun.
But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now, and I'm just you know, I'm just continuing to try to grow and do my thing, man.
I love it.
Yeah,
man, I love it. So I mean, I'm the agents. That was my world for a long time, is agency world. Not on the agency side, but from the production side. And so my, you know, we obviously all have a different path with all that. But mine was, you know, always dealing from the outside of all that. And I love how you're talking about it, because it used to be, you know, so compartmentalized. Like you rarely had an in-house director. You know, maybe if it was a BBDO, DDB, and they have the studio and they're shooting one specific thing, they have a guy in-house who's shooting whatever. But still, you're still farming out, you know, your specific brands to director who is his niche. Yeah. I need a comedy guy who does this exactly like this. Right, you know, and that's you're paying him $25,000 or whatever it is a day, come and do his thing. But I think that there's something to be said. I think obviously the world's changed, right? People are doing things different. We're working from home. We're able to do so much more, you know, that we've always been able to do. We just got used to doing it a certain way or whatever. And that's so amazing, you know, to be a director, a creative director, as, you know, we talked about a little bit, you know, your client better than any director ever will. You know, he's going to read a brief. He's going to look at some boards. Yes, he's going to, maybe he works with them over time and gets to know them. Right. But you're in the trenches with them. You know, their goals, you know, everything they like about, you know, their brand and all that. That's a brilliant way to do it. When, you know, we can do it that way. And I think we can do it that way now. Yeah.
I think, you know, when I started, you know, I feel like when I came in, I had no preconceived notions on how to be a director, right?
Yes.
I was talking to the advertising program over at U of H a while back, and you know, everyone falls into that little imposter syndrome when you're doing something you have never done before. And I remember before because when I got to Love, it was a big team. It was 26 people I was managing, and I was like, oh damn, man. I was reading books on how to be a creative director. I was watching Mad Men. I was like, oh shit. I was like, okay.
I'm being too nice.
Yeah. Walked here with a student. And I realized, you know, what got me there was just being me. My own voice.
Yeah, that's it. That's good.
And that's the way I've always approached it. But I would tell you, when you take down the barrier of it's the production company and it's the agency, when you take that down and it just becomes one team, that's where the good shit really happens right there, you know. I mean, you know, a good DP, you know, the grip, everything. And, you know, I just feel that energy.
Yes.
And they're on board because I'm not coming in. They've already met me before, right? I've already talked to everyone about the creative.
Right.
I've developed it, or the team's developed it.
Yep.
And so it's not like, oh, this guy's coming in for the day. He's going to be an ass and he's going to blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
It's like, no, we're one team, guys. And you feel free to make it better.
Yep.
Let's, you know, Picasso said, you know, he started with an idea and it becomes something else.
Right.
And what I love about that is that, and you guys have probably met people like this, they have an idea in their head and that's it.
Yeah.
There's no swaying that idea, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's not when good creative happens.
Right.
It happens when someone comes to the idea and it's like, okay, that's not my original idea. It's better than my original idea.
Right.
Let's do this. Let's do that. And I think, you know, working with production companies, and I've worked with some, you know, I have one that I work with, you know, now just because we have a relationship and it's kind of that knowledge. But I have a few other ones that I work with, and I just try to build that team. And it's that there's not us and them. It's together on this production.
Yeah.
And recently I started requesting that everyone on the kind of production, you know, get the storyboard down to craft services. I want everyone to know what's happening here, what's going on.
That's cool.
Because I don't know, maybe like a year ago I was on a shoot and I was talking to someone and they had no idea. They knew what their job was and they knew what they were supposed to do, but they actually had no idea who the company was, what the commercial was about, what we're trying to do.
Yeah. Now big picture helps. Yeah.
Big picture really helps. And it's like the craft services really know how to do that, or the PA, maybe not. But for me, it just feels good that everyone's on the same. Same page. Yeah.
Dude,
cool.
that's honestly, that's a rare breed in our industry. I mean, it just really is. You know, especially when you're like, when everybody has that super competitive spirit, you know, thing on them. That's just, it's hard to work with anyway. I mean, you're good at being like a cog and the thing, but you have no idea what the whole thing is. And really, if people would humble themselves, you know, and like be willing, like to share the whole vision, somebody could make it better. People know departments. They're not going to try to step on your toes. They want to work again. It's not like they're trying to elbow you, you know, out.
I'm sure you got some stories to tell. I bet you have some like
my God.
diva directors.
Everything under the sun. I mean, I remember like, oh my, no, okay.
Give me the one.
Okay. I don't even know where to start.
Give me one.
I don't know where to start. Okay, I'll start. Okay, I'm going to go right in your wheelhouse. I'm going to go food, and I'm going to go food stylist from Dallas.
Oh, wow.
And I was shooting in San Diego.
The stylist was the diva? I might know the stylist.
The stylist was the diva. Worked with him one time ever. And so I shot a lot of food. And as a director, I was shooting IHOP. And because I was working for Vitro in San Diego, and Southern California, Rubio's Fish Tacos. That was our big fish taco place in Southern California. We shot all their stuff, and I was shooting Pat and Oscars at the time. That was another big brand down there, and so I have a, you know, and I'm trying to find a so, you know, most of the time I'm working directly with an agency. Rarely I'd go B2B. You know, it's usually with an agency for a production side of it. I like when I finally got to sink my creative teeth in. It wasn't just here's a script and that's all it is. And you get to put a little bit on their suggestion, but like they can get so stuck in it. You're working with a brand that's got hundreds of million, you know, so you just do what you can do, right? But I loved it when I got to participate with creative and get them 10 or 12 boards and to pick the best one, and we get to hone it down and get better.
Man, that's awesome. That's the process.
Yeah,
that's fun.
And so we're shooting a board. Whatever we were shooting specifically, I think we were shooting pizza. The pizza pool is everything. Everything rides and dies on the pizza pool. Get the right pizza pool. And so I'm looking for food stylists because I need to get this shot. If there's any shot I got to get in this thing, I got to get this one thing right. So I finally find a food stylist that I wanted. I liked all his reels great. Yeah, he's in Dallas. I'm like, all right, he's got the best pizza pulls. So I fly this guy in, and I'm thinking, I'm in California, man. People can be, I mean, not everybody, but it's the agency world. You can deal with all the snooty guys, that whole world, you know, or that whole thing, right? I don't have to describe it to you, but so I'm thinking, I'm getting a food stylist from Texas. I'm going to get some, it's going to be a little relaxed. I'm going to bring some Texas. I'm from Texas. I'm going to bring some South to this thing. Dude, no. He was more diva than anybody I'd worked with in California.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm driving. I go pick him up to the airport myself. I pick him up. I'm like, I'm going to get to know the guy I'm going to be working with. We're driving over, and as we're driving, he's like, well, a happy food stylist is a something food stylist. I don't know. He's throwing terms. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, buddy. I said, I'm like, on our set, everybody's happy. Like, you stay happy on our set. I'm like, this is going to suck. And sure enough, man, we get on set, and this guy is just like, whatever studio we're shooting in, it's California, right? So everybody's a little more healthy anyway. But he's coming in, he's you want to smoke, fine, smoke. But he smells like a chimney, man, like nonstop. And all the production guys are like constantly just all these in and out of the studio, and the studio owner's like, hey, what's this guy? He's smoking. Anyway, so nonstop. And he's pulling out all the tricks, and he's like, like, we need this stuff to steam and smoke. And, he gets his at one point he's like, I got this. He takes out his cigarette and he puts it right behind the pizza, and it's just enough steam coming out of it, and it looked good. And I'm like, roll it. So there's some pizza commercial out there with this guy's nasty old Reds, or Camels, whatever. We're just rolling over the top of this pizza. You don't want that pizza. But that was a crazy food stylist story. And then I had these two ladies also who were like, they were the most miserable ladies you've ever seen in your life.
Oh man!
And we had them. Maybe it was a little kitchen.
Nobody's got time for that.
Yeah, nobody's got time for that. I mean, there was Yoshinoya. We used to shoot Yoshinoya. Biggest. If you go to Japan, they're on every corner. It's the biggest rice bowl place. Yeah. So we'd shoot all their stuff for them. And these I had to have a laser pointer because I have the chef, the master, whatever chef of the restaurant that comes in from Japan, and everybody's sitting there, and it got so meticulous that I started bringing a laser pointer to set. Yeah. And I'm like. And he's like, yeah, that grain of rice right there, that needs to move. I'm like, you mean that grain of rice? That one. So she'd come in with the tweezers and move the grain of rice because there's a shadow there. It's like, it's perfect. It's their brand. It's their everything. I get it. And I jokingly say, they tell you, the things you don't want to work with the most, right? They say you want kids, special effects, dogs. Animals. I did all the pets, PetSmart. I shot nothing but animals for years. But I'm like, food. I want to hear your take on this, but food for me was like, because it's the brand, man. Like this thing has to look pristine. It is their thing. If this doesn't have the right color in the sauce, this is their there's millions of dollars, for these people. And I just like, it became one of my least favorite things to do because at least a dog, you could be like, and the dog would turn its head. Food is just like,
yeah. Well, you got everyone that has an opinion on the way they like their food to look. Yeah. So when I got to Fuddruckers, my thing is I like a burger to look like a burger, like a messy burger. Like I want to eat that.
Like the Carl's Jr.
Yeah. It's like, the ketchup's coming out the end. And people at Fuddruckers like, no, it has to be perfect. Like it I'm like, but that's not grease. But that's no yum appeal to that. Like people, it doesn't look authentic. I want a burger. So we started kind of styling our food a little different from photo shoots and obviously on broadcast too, to make it feel more real. And especially with Luby's. Yeah. Because we had to plate Luby's so differently because it's a tray. I mean, you're going down and you can't shoot that kind of stuff on a tray. Right. So we just had to make it a little more delicate, more finessed. And, then you get everyone like the chefs, well, that's not the right amount. I know it's not the right amount. Yeah. Oh, that's not the way you would do it. I know that's not the way you would do it. But we have to make this look good. We have to have people buy this. We have people come in line, spend their hard-earned money. So this is the way we're going, and just make that call. And, but everyone has an opinion on that. And food is tough, man, because you're working against time also. Totally. Mm-hmm. Like you're working against making that food stay alive. You got the stylist. Yep. You got people on set. and your times,
you got 14 Luann platters
you
over
got 14
here.
to get out.
You got to get.
And I don't know, when I first started directing, man, you'd get like that pressure, and that your head would start to get hot a little bit, like this is not going the way I wanted to go, guys. But as
I'm gonna make it up later. I'll make it up later.
As you get into it and do it more, the pressure goes away. But with food, it's so subjective.
It is.
It really is. But I enjoyed working with food too, because there's sexiness in food. That's why I like to do fashion on the side, because it's that sex appeal with food. It evokes an emotion. Whether it's just like a chocolate shake, when you look at it, you're like, okay, this chocolate shake looks good.
I can't tell if he's looking at a tall blonde or all right, this shake looks good.
So it's like, but I like to live in that world of emotion. I like to, whether it's food, whether it's, here, I've done a lot of medical here. I don't know how many times I put someone in that CAT scan and got the backlight from the shot and got the shot coming down. But somewhere in there, I try to find a bit of emotion that people can relate to. Whether it's food, whether it's medical, whether it's fashion. And I think if you approach it that way, and you can get it, then you've got something going, because everyone's a consumer.
That's true.
People don't understand how hard it is. I mean, to shoot food, they think you just put food on a plate and put the food there. But I can't. I don't even know if I legally can say like how many things we've had to replace. As for replacements for food that weren't the food. But I mean,
all the tricks.
The
glue and the cheese,
potatoes that hold it. Well, the lensing on that, the lensing and the way you block the food is way different, because if I want to shoot a tight shot of someone, we can get there. But with food, you gotta live in a different space. You gotta get the way you want it, and it's so hard, because the way we see it as a crew, it's not the way you want to shoot it. Right. You want to shoot it in a way that makes it look, just amazing. But now, man, I see on Instagram all the time these hacks on how they shoot this food.
No doubt,
it's crazy.
And it's like, I remember we did our Fuddruckers shoot, and actually it was Joe's Crab Shack. At this time, I was at et cetera, and the director was out of Dallas. I can't remember his name. He wore a cowboy hat, and he had like these cowboy jeans cut off, kind of an older cat. He was fun though.
Like Jones.
He was wild, dude. Yeah, maybe. He was wild though, but it was expensive, because he had the robotic, all the robotic stuff, man. It was, and then we ended up using it again for Fuddruckers, and it was just, they just program it in and it happens. I'm like, man, that's some easy directing right there. Right. But it was fun. It's different. It is a different vibe.
Totally.
For sure.
Yeah. There's been so much tech that's come along that just changes all that. Like even one of the funs I love seeing is the probe lenses that you can do a lot. I'm like, oh, dude, that's so nice. Like, what do you mean I can start from in the burger or something?
We just did one. Lone Star College is one of our clients. So we do all the stuff. We do all the commercials for Lone Star, and we direct them all. But we had a little probe. So they have this robotics program there. And I'm like, okay. And the commercial itself, we had to get a lot of stuff in 30 seconds. You know how fast that is, man. 25 after an end card, 26 after an end card. So you're moving and grooving on these shots. And they had this robotic arm, and it went through this thing. I'm like, I said, that's going to be my win for today. If I can get this shot the way I want it, it's going to be the cool factor of this commercial, right? And so we worked on it. We had the hand come in. Dude, it was a really cool shot. And I just felt like, that's all right, man.
You did.
I feel good about that. But so much tech, and now
it just makes it, in my opinion, you can be more creative too. Like the ability to piece together all those different things, whether it's a bolt arm with a probe lens on it, with talent doing this at the same time. Like there was one a while back I saw of it was a commercial of I think it was a beer brand. They had this really long table that they just slid it across.
Right.
That robot arm went all the way down. It was like a 30-foot long table.
Yep.
And there's about 10 different interactions happening across the table. And to me, like, I don't care what the commercial's about. I'm like, dude, I appreciate it from the art standpoint of that you thought to create it like that.
Well, I mean, just like, how about just the accessibility of all that stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, 20 years ago, how much you have to spend to even play with any of this kind of stuff? And now we're getting our inspiration from guys on Instagram who just spend 900 or 500 on something.
Well, you talked about how it's changed, how advertising, the agency model has changed over the last 10 to 15 years. Where you had these huge agencies, hundreds of people, and now you have an agency with 20 people that can do almost as much as that 200 agencies could do, just because, you know, it's more efficient. We have better tools to work with. And on the production side, it goes back to your point. I like what you're saying there, is that if you have a great creative idea, whether you have a huge budget or small budget, you may have to, you know, change a little bit here and there, but you can make it happen both.
Yeah.
Right? You know? Like I've had, you know, $500,000 budgets where it was probably the boringest commercial out there. And then you know, I directed something for Honda in the back seat with the DP handheld going through, you know, just some actors, and then in the edit, we got a band out of Austin to come and do a little track on it, and the whole spot's $15,000, and it was like amazing. It's still one of my favorite spots.
That's cool.
Because it was just the energy of that day. It's actually, you know, I never made like a short film or anything like that, but it felt like we were doing something, some crafts, right? We had concept, and then we're putting that craft to it. And I felt the spot turned out amazing, and just the energy of that day was fun.
Yes.
Which is supposed to be fun, right?
Yeah. Yes. I love saying it, like, you know, and this is kind of off topic, but like, you know, when you're buying a pet, you know, like I'm a dog guy. And so you want to like, okay, I don't want this kind of breed. You know, I don't want one that's going to like cause me chaos all my life. But then there's, you know, there's breeds like border collies that they need to be entertained. You know, like they need to have something happening all the time.
Right.
And I remember getting one of those dogs, and the trainer who I purchased it from said, hey, you know, like, he's going to get bored quick. You know, so a fun tip is, hey, go duct tape a box and put treats in it, and then duct tape another box, and then another box. And it won't stop until it can get what it's after. And I look at that in the same way as a creative. Like, I want to be not entertained, but I want to be able to create. Let me create. Like, it's the challenge is more fun sometimes than just saying, oh yeah, I got a big gig.
Yeah.
Right. You know, like, I want to be challenged. I want to be like, can I do it with not as much gear? Can I do it with this camera? Can I make it work with that? You know, to me, like, a creative loves thriving in the unknown, but it's like can I do it? Can I get away with it? Can I make that look like that?
Yeah.
And you got to have an outlet. I mean, like, you know, so, you know, directing and doing what you're doing, do you have another creative outlet that you get? Like, so mine is photography, fashion photography, because I answer to myself. I pick my clients, they come in, you know, I concept it, I shoot it. It's my edit. Everything is me, and that's where I express my, you know, my 100% kind of who I am creatively.
Yeah.
I do it in the agency world, but you can only get so much there. You know how, you guys know how that rolls, right? So, you know, you got to have some kind of outlet, whether it's writing, painting, you know, whatever it is. I think creatively, you got to have some other outlet than what is your main gig.
100%.
Yeah. You know?
And that's why a lot of commercial directors, you know, end up in film, end up doing documentaries, end up doing, you know, their side stuff. They're passion projects, just things you love and enjoy. And I do love photography. Like, I travel a lot around the world. And so my phone, I was just doing my phone. I didn't even take a nice camera. I'd taken my iPhone just because it's easy and I can get around with it and out of airports super fast. But I mean, you definitely have to have something like that, you know, that gets you going. It's easy. I don't have to have a crew. I don't have to have a whole deal. Just do it. You know, I appreciate that about where we're at now. You know, for a long time, there were just so many barriers to entry to get to do any of this stuff.
Whether it's everything.
It's just the money, or like, you know, even just getting the agency world. If you're interested in that world, that seemed like this big curtain of, like, especially the big agencies. How does it work? You know, how do you do all that? What's the, you know?
Yeah. Especially in this city.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's getting better.
Yeah.
But in this city, you know, my son is 26. He moved to LA. He moved out to LA when he was 17. And he's an artist. He has his own clothing brand. He does filming. But at 17 here in Houston, there was no collaborative effort. There was no collaboration.
Right.
Everyone was like, "Oh, this is my work. This is my business. If I share it with you, I'm afraid you're going to." And the city, it's gotten better over the last 5 to 6 years. But that's why people leave, because you go to LA, everyone's like, "If I do good, you're going to do good."
Right.
You know, everyone's lifting everyone up, especially when you're starting out small. This city's been slow to that on the change, right? I think it is getting better. But I think we need to do a better job for sure. Of doing that kind of thing.
No doubt, man. Well, I'm psyched that we got, you know, some good creative and things happening around here. I mean, I just love the disposition, how you're shooting and how you're doing stuff. That's great. I'm glad to know that that's going on. I want to meet more people like us and more people, you know, doing that around here. So
I think a smaller agency allows you that freedom.
Yeah.
And I love that, you know, the fact that, you know, you're still kind of a young gun. Young
man, we're having the chat, but I'm in that.
I know.
I'm the young filmmaker saying, all right, well, how do I get plugged in some of these ad agencies?
Yeah, but like but you know how you just got to have that person to say, hey, come on in, open the door, one door.
Yeah.
And that's all it takes.
That's true.
It really takes that one opportunity, but you got to take that opportunity.
Totally.
One time this guy was like, hey man, I want to shadow you. We were shooting something for the fire department here, and I was like, okay, meet me at 6 o'clock in the morning. Wasn't there. I get a text at 9:30. Oh man, my alarm clock didn't go off. I was like, bro,
that's it, man.
That's it. I'm not gonna. I just recently had a model. I was like, I thought she had some really potential. I was like, I won't charge you for the test shoot. I'll bring in a stylist, bring in a makeup artist. The day of, I'm gonna have to cancel. Blah blah blah. I'm like, cool, fine. I just called someone else in. They just came in and we shot it, and that's it. I'm done. I mean, I'm not trying to be an ass about it, but it's just like, our time is valuable, and so when you have those opportunities, you got to take them.
Yeah, 100%.
You just got to make that transition. Is that where you want? What kind of space are you want to be in?
Man, I'm in that space where I'm feeling a lot of them out. So I work with Kelly a lot in traveling around the world and filming documentaries and short films and narratives, and so I'm exploring a lot of that and having fun in it.
Nice.
But recently I've had a blast doing, I guess it fits more into ad agency style work. I've loved working with brands and creating commercial work for them.
Nice.
And it's, I guess, taking a little bit more of like an ad point of view, because I'm like, okay, I can go make a video for you, but what is your marketing plan for this? Why are you making this video? How do I match your desires on the marketing side into what I'm seeing visually? Because I can go make something amazing, but if I think what I think is creative and it doesn't fit your brand, then I didn't do you any justice.
Right.
Yeah, and that's where that really team has to come in.
That's right.
That's where you really have to get with those creative directors and those brand strategies and go, hey guys, let's just kind of cut through all this. What are we trying to do? Just let me know. Right? Just let me know, what's working and what's not working, because I don't want to waste my, it's with budget and commercial. When you're doing a commercial, the pressure is there.
Yeah.
You're doing a passion project, or you're doing a short film, or you got time, you can move things around. But when you have clients on the set and you got all this money on the set and they're looking at you to make it happen, it's like, you need to know where you stand. Like, what are we trying to do to make this successful?
That's it.
Yeah.
And I've been on both sides of that. I directed a commercial years ago for a master plan community, and it looked amazing, but the strategy was off. So the commercial didn't hit and didn't land where it needed to do.
Right.
It didn't get those calls in.
Yeah.
And so from that standpoint, it was a failure.
Right.
From an advertising side.
Right.
From just a pure creative visual side.
Great for the real.
Yeah. But my job is to make sure that our clients see that success. And ultimately, as much as I, love doing the directing side and love doing my own thing on the side with photography, my day-to-day is making sure that client I'm taking care of them creatively. We have an outstanding team at Hierarchy on the strategy side, on the brand side. We don't let anything slip through the cracks. And it's not for me, because, they have to keep me in line. They have to keep me going, but it's a teamwork.
Yeah.
You cannot do everything yourself when it comes to something like that.
It's true.
But I think, that's what brands need, is more innovation in how to tell their story.
Yeah.
But it's hard. You have so many little hurdles to jump, but you got to keep pushing and pressing.
Yeah,
for sure.
No, it's been fun. I've definitely been in a space getting some smaller ones.
Nice.
And
have you done a phone one recently?
A phone one? Oh, a phone one. Oh man, the most recent phone one I did was I worked with a tactical brand. I actually shot it here in studio.
Nice.
It's a small brand. I say small bit just because we did a trade. So I'm doing a lot of like early on stuff right now with that, where they're just trading for product. Hey, cool. It's $4,000 a gear. I'll take it and go. I'll make a fun commercial out of it.
Nice.
Storyboard it. Give you a pitch deck. I'll do the directing, produce. I'm just like one man banding it. Yeah. But then I'm pulling in obviously people I'm friends with who are in the production world that are just wanting to get started in it. I'm like, cool. You can come be a PA. Come be a grip. Come learn. Just hold a camera. Let me have you help with lighting that day. And so it's cool because I'm involving people who I want in my world.
Nice.
To grow and learn from it. And I see that they have that same desire. And so we shot a fun tactical commercial here in the studio of a night vision thermal optic and a tactical vest. And so I was like, all right, well, I got to hype this up a little bit. So, I called a buddy who was in the Army Reserve. I was like, hey, dude, you want to be in a tactical commercial? Go bring all your, former Army stuff on and put it on. We'll have some fun.
Nice.
And so it's just like, I love piecing together all those different, components, whether it's the score's got to match. I can't go throw some cheesy commercial audio on there.
Sure.
So we went with this kind of like, not metal, but it's like, man, a guy who's gonna buy a tactical vest, it's probably like a weightlifting, tatted up, marine looking guy who's gonna wear that, or somebody's gonna appreciate that music. And so I love finding I want to say the culture of the commercial.
Yeah.
And to me, that was a blast. Like if you said, hey, just give me that. You don't have to shoot it. You don't have to edit it. You don't have to direct. Just give me the culture of what it needs to be. I'd be like, oh, sign me up. I'm down.
It's what keeps me going right here. Other people's passion, it really does.
Yeah.
It really does. They hear you excited about it.
Yeah.
Because, those learned experiences that you just had are going to help you down the road somewhere. You don't know where. You may be doing another shoot and you're like, I remember when I did that.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably know better than anyone.
No,
I mean, how you just can pull, your toolbox just starts to get bigger
and bigger
and bigger and
Sure.
bigger. And
Sure.
you say, oh man, I can do this and I can do that.
Well,
And I think that's awesome.
And it's like, for me over the years, you hone in on what you do love.
Yeah.
And
That's
I definitely suffered the imposter syndrome early on as a director. Like I was just like, I don't have a real idea. I can't get work. Look at that. I need to do that. I need to do that. I need to do that. And over the years, like when we were about to start shooting today, they're getting cards ready and and I'm like, I don't even hear any technical anymore. At first, I cared about everything.
Yeah.
And over time, I was like, I don't really care. That's not my jam, is the technical. It's the creative. It's specifically the story or specific this. And so now that's all I'll hear. I trust the guys who are doing what they do. And now what I've gravitated to over the years is, this part of the story or this part of the creative. And that's really, I know about that, but I focus on my thing.
And that's your confidence.
It is.
Well, it's your confidence. I do a lot of consulting on the side with with big companies who have in-house creative teams. And they'll ask me to come in and talk about either the creative process, or I just did one for KBR, which is a company here in Houston, a consulting company. And I talked to their creative team, their global creative team, on presenting creative, because that's something that you don't think about until you do it. And you go to school for film, you go to school for graphic design, you go to school, but you don't go to school for public speech. I mean, you may take one speech class,
right?
But you don't go to school for that. So how do you get to, how do you get that creative across the finish line?
Huge.
And one of the things I talked about was confidence. And when you told that story, that's what I think of. Is you're so confident that you know things, and you have a good team behind you. You don't have to worry about
That's
it.
it.
And when you can get into that space,
Right.
like my wife was like, "What are you guys going to talk about?" This, like, I actually don't even know. And
don't
she was
either.
like, "Are you nervous?" I was like, "I'm just going to talk about what I know. If you only, if
That's
you
it.
just talk
good.
about what you know and the way you see it, you can't go wrong.
Right.
I mean, there's no script. There's no book around doing it the way you like to do it, right? But that takes time. That confidence does take time.
We got to say this because this is cool, and I know we're probably need to wrap it up here. But early on, I really struggled like learning how to. Like you said, like people don't teach you this. How do you pitch? How do you take all of that? There's a lot of that's like infinite ways to like. But how does the best way for you to take this and pitch this idea and get it over? Like we say, concept to completion, but literally. How do you pitch that before you sell it, before there's money involved, before you get it out there? You can get your, whatever, you get your pitch deck, you get a rough board, you can get your, however you want to do it, the best way to do it. Like, I mean, I don't know how that's being done nowadays or,
You have to do it the way you do it. You know, I kind of have my own way because I get nervous. Everyone gets nervous, but I have my own, kind of way that I do it. I come in and talk to people on the crew, talk to you guys beforehand, so that I can get comfortable and kind of know you guys. You got to know your stuff. You got to know what you're talking about. Not just your creative, but the research and the strategy, because you never know when that's gonna come up, right? So you got to know your stuff. And here's one that took me a long time, and it's exactly what you're talking about. I come from a small town in Georgia, and my Southern accent used to be way worse, man. And I used to have a big imposter syndrome, and I would go in and try to do all these buzzwords and try to, the marketing guy. And it's like, our bottom line, our
the ROI.
And it's like, that's not me, man.
Yeah.
And so I just decided to start doing it in my own voice, who I am as a person. And what that leads to is authenticity.
Yeah.
And when you're authentic about the creative you're presenting, then people will listen. Now, they may not like it. They may hate it.
Right.
But that's beside the point. They'll listen to you.
That's right.
They will listen to what you have to say.
So good.
And that's what you want to get to, is that authenticity. And then from a strategic standpoint, I try to M&M people all the time. you guys seen 8 Mile, right?
Yeah.
He tells him at the end, oh, he's going to say this and say this about you. I try to have an answer and put it in my pitch of questions they're going to ask.
It's good.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, what about this and this? Oh, we already got that covered. We're going to do this. We're going to have it horizontal and vertical. We already got it covered. We're going to do this for your social. I do that in the pitch. So when I get there, I don't have to answer those questions that get on everyone's nerves, right?
Yeah.
And so, and I think also, this is a big deal. You've got to be able to finish strong. Don't. I've seen so many creatives talk themselves out of a job because they got the idea. They're sold. You can look at it in the room and everyone's like, we're loving it. But they just keep on talking. And they keep on bringing this variable. And these overthinkers in the room are going to start overthinking it.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, they're like questioning your idea that they just loved 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So you got to figure out how to like just wrap it up, succinct, like, hey, this is what I believe in, boom. And just leave it at that. If they have questions, let them marinate on it and get back to you. But, and there's a couple other things that you can really do in there. But I think authenticity and finding your own voice are the two most important things.
It's huge. It's huge. I think everybody needs to hear that because it's just like initially we're all gaining that, learning how to get that confidence.
Yeah.
And once you get that voice, everybody that you admire, everybody that you love in the industry has found that. That's why you like them. Not because they're like everybody else, because they're their own person. And that's that you admire that in them, so huge. I think it's good.
You're adding value to that person anyway by being that.
Totally.
I think like that's been a theme of today. Of all the episodes we've shot today, it's been about like, man, you have to be your unique self. Stop faking it. Whether you're this or this, man, just be authentic and be real about it.
It's true. And and it's like it's rooted in wanting to be accepted, and so people emulate.
It's good.
All that.
I mean, it's rooted in, am I doing the right thing? Are people looking at me? Am I creative looking enough? People give me a hard time. They're like, oh man, you're gonna put you're black, you got the tattoos, you got the glasses, and I'm like, well, I'm actually blind. I had tattoos when I was in the Air Force. But strategically, when you walk into a company and everyone's wearing Dockers and golf shirts, they don't want someone who's wearing what they're wearing to pitch them creative. They want the guy with, they want the guy with the tattoos. They want the guy that's dressed in black. They're paying for that. They want to see that. Now, obviously, you got to back it up. With some awesome creative. But you've already kind of won that battle. Okay, I've got this. Let me show you what else I have in this thing.
Totally.
But then sometimes I've seen creatives who look just, they do have the Dockers, and I'm like, God, dang, man, you're super creative. You're hiding that.
Wasn't expecting that one.
You look at accountant, but damn, you're over in here with some killer creative.
Wow.
That's cool.
So all of you young people out there, the moral of the story today is learn the craft, get some confidence, and make sure you have lots of tattoos. And
get some piercings.
Exactly.
All right. Listen, we got to wrap it up here. Thomas, thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, man, appreciate it, man.
Fun.
Hey, tell this camera right here if they want to get in contact with you personally, professionally, all of that, like how to connect with you.
Yes, So basically, like I said, the agency I work for is Hierarchy Advertising. We're a full service ad agency here in Houston, Texas. Our bread and butter is integrated campaigns. We do it better than anyone. We that's our passion. If you want to look at, find me on Instagram, it's Guerrero_creative. That's my fashion Instagram thing where I put everything that I do from the fashion standpoint and the models. But those are two ways you can find me. And Hierarchy, you can just look at the URL, look it up on Google. Well,
cool.
That's it.
Awesome, man. Well, Thomas, thanks for being with us today.
Hey, thank you, guys. This was a blast, man.
Yeah, this was fun. Well, I'm Kelly Leger, Hosanna Arceri here, and we'll see you next time on Set Life.